Some trigger warnings. This episode will discuss depression, self-harm, and dysphoria. Hi, I'm Kurama, and welcome to krmcast. December 11, 2024. The trans youth receive a blow directly to their heart by the Labour Party. On December 11, 2024, the trans youth were betrayed by the Labour Party, betrayed by the ones who supposed to be taking care of them, protect them, and make sure and ensuring they have a bright future. But no, the Labour Party, this country, generations failed the trans youth. But I'm not the only one that have something to say about this bullshit, unlawful decision. During the episode, you're gonna listen to other queer people of color giving their opinion on this situation, on this ban. And of course, it's impossible to talk about this ban and not talk about the health and the future of the trans community as a whole. For not only the trans youth is the future of the trans community, but we are still here. And we need to fight for our rights and for the children's rights. For our lives and for the children's lives.
There is a pattern. I believe that there is a constant pattern from the judicial system to healthcare practitioners to the police force to professors, teachers, everybody in these grouped organizations who support this discrimination towards trans youth, dismantle and undervalue conversations that are being had or need to be had. And it's almost like this anti-trans notion is pushed forward by the same people we are supposed to listen to, by the same people who are making decisions for lives that they have no right to speak on.
After seeing the news of the permanent ban on puberty blockers, I felt this unbearable sadness mixed with a need to say to the trans youth, forgive me. Forgive us all, for we have failed to protect you. In all honesty, I know that I can't hold myself to blame. For people way more powerful than I are behind all that. Yet, I felt like it was my duty as a millennial, as an adult, to beg the trans youth for their forgiveness. The bright and joyful wonder of youth, the most precious moment in our lives, is being ruthlessly stolen from them by sins they didn't commit. Sins of the father, not the youngs. Sins of the generation before. My generation. My sins, for I look down for a shameful long time. I avoid the fight for a shameful long time. I pretended not to care for a shameful long time. But the blame ain't mine alone. My heart aches with the weight of our sins that we, the children of the millennium, are allowed to go unchecked, unnoticed, unchallenged by our arrogant sense of superiority and lack of clarity for a shameful long time.
These laws are facades because they use words and phrases like it's a danger to health or it's a danger for young people to know about trans rights early on. It's just an excuse. It's a facade that they are making up to hide the fact that they are supporting discrimination towards transgender individuals, and it's wrong. It is so wrong, and it's unjustifiable. There's no excuse to it. And I'm hearing news articles and I'm thinking to myself, this has always been happening. And this law that's just been enforced by the government is one of the many things. For example, there's transphobia in the workplace. It's reported to the police, nothing's done. There's harassment in the streets towards a transgender individual and nothing is done. Nothing is said, nothing is done, it's not taken seriously. When transgender individuals are the individuals who face the most hate in the LGBTQIA community. And that's just how it's been for however long. And it needs to stop. And I'm so scared that it's not going to stop because so many of my friends, family members are going through this hateful, demeaning time. And things just keep being put on top of this huge pile. And it's not fair. It's not normal, but it's been normalized. And I just wish that there was more understanding.
Some of us dare to care more about the size of Rogue's ass on X-Men 97 than with children taking their own lives as young as 12 years old. My brothers, sisters, my siblings. We failed them. They are now our children, our nibblings, nephews and nieces. They should look up to us, not at us like they don't have the same height of importance. However, this heavy ball of guilty in my chest is nothing compared to the pain, to the suffering and challenges our youth is enduring. I can only imagine how lost and betrayal they must be feeling. For I know only too well the sharp pain of being denied that which is the key to our happiness, to our survival, to our true self. In April 2023, the NHS refused my request for a binging prescription. They forced me into the worst period of my life. While I was detransitioning, I could feel life leaving my body. Each change took me back into the form I so desperately tried to escape. I died. I was dead for months. When I came back to life, when I finally came back to life, I realized that my human rights are once more being denied. It felt like pain, suffering, and injustice were the only things I could take for granted. And that was my wake-up call to the fact that we failed. The average Gen Y cares more about a fiction boy who never lived, therefore never experienced real pain, real neglect, or real fear for his life. The average Gen Y is self-centered enough to keep enriching a sly creator, claiming the separation of book and author while closing themselves to real kids being struck by a very real snake. Rolling our eyes to the back of our heads, not to see anything beyond our views and based on absolutely nothing opinions.
When it comes to the shit stain that is Wes Streeting, there's very few words I think I could say that haven't already been said by trans youth and by those who are directly most affected. I could talk about how there is absolutely no scientific backing to any of this. I could talk about how puberty blockers have been safely used on young people, cisgender or otherwise, for decades. And I could talk about how the current Labour government has clearly never read a medical journal in their life, and especially Wes Streeting. I don't think you have to be a trans ally, a trans person, or anyone who's been near a trans experience to see how targeted this attack is on trans youth. You could be completely apathetic to the lives of trans people and still see how this is a direct discrimination against a protected characteristic in our society, against children and young people who do not deserve to be under fire.
We, as in me as well, we call trans people training, she-male, and traps. We allow the world to keep stripping trans people of the status of being with feelings, dreams, and dreads. My heart cries in desperation and guilty, for I was one for a harmless trainee joke. Once I was among the thousands of Afro-Brazilians disgusted by the very sight of a trans woman. If today I am called it or that. I'm paying for the sins of my tongue. When today a man refused me a kiss while mounting me, I pay for the sins of my hands. It's been shamefully too long. I beg for the forgiveness of my youth. That's the feeling stuck in the chest of a trans adult. The guilty for my sins put me in a trial and charged me with neglecting for far too long. Meanwhile, the only ones holding the dice, gambling with children's lives, are sipping tea, smacking their lips in the lifeless approval of another human right being revoked.
I would encourage those around trans people to stand by them. And I would also encourage anyone who isn't a part of the community to stand up and speak out, because there is no need for this. We know that this is just a precursor to further attacks on trans people, on queer people, and on access to healthcare.
And that's it. That's today's krmcast. That's this week's episode. And before you stop this episode, I need to stop saying episode so many times. I want to give you guys, how do you say, a message? No, a notice. Kind of like a notice. I'm taking a holiday in January. I might take the whole of January on holiday. I don't know yet. Or maybe I release one episode in January, but I do need a break. And I do need to prepare krmcast season 3 for y'all. We're gonna have another 2 episodes in December. On the 20th, brace yourself for a dark fantasy called Christmas is No More, another original by me. And for the Portuguese speakers, the last one of the year is gonna be a very special one. It's gonna be a krmcast PTBR, a very special krmcast PTBR. Well, you guys know what to do. If you want to say something, if you want to share something, just drop a comment or drop me an email. Also, rate and share my show. These words said here by me and by my peers, my queer of color peers, make them reach further. Make them reach further. Share this episode. Share for the trans youth. Share for the trans life. Share for trans people. And until next week. Bye.
You don't have to be on the front line to see that this is not just.